Howdy, my friends and family and enemies. Today I have a talk for you called New Year's Reframe Salute Yins. The nothing changes you. You know, the nothing from the never-ending story. It steamrolls over it all. The archonic deception, loosh extraction mechanisms. The thoughts, beliefs, beliefs, and external controls to guide us back to getting taken by it, the dark it, the shadow, back under the dark wings of hell's protection for its own control. So get back to work as a slave or a killer in this planetary ethnic cleansing. I wonder who came up with that horrifically retarded term. To get rid of all the indigenous folks here permanently. That's the goal. Permanently rid this place of the indigenous. And normies are just writing their New Year's resolutions to lose weight, quit drinking, quit sugar, a drug, or some other undesirable habit. As if you begin on the new year and resolve to quit something, it will have a better chance of succeeding. Yet, as we know, a vast majority don't stick with their resolutions and rebound. What can you do to keep the new pattern going? You know, the studies have shown that the vast majority of people who try to learn guitar, they quit within 6 months or so. They don't never really try, so they don't ever learn. They don't put in the effort. In Toltec shamanism, there is the path of recapitulation. Going back over everything you've done your entire life and reframing it. Howdy Mikowski claims he's done it twice. To look at the big picture and check out your patterns. Dr. Jack Cruz says that every New Year's, he claims every single New Year's that his resolution is always the same, that he deeply examines all his current beliefs, all the things he thinks are true this year, you know, to see if they're bullshit or still true. And this is why, as confident and openly brilliant as he is, I don't think he could still be called a narcissist, because he actually questions his own thoughts to that point that he claims. I mean, the Dalai Lama supposedly wakes up at 3 a.m. every morning and does 2 hours of insight meditation, which is, you know, with every single thought arising, is that true? Is that true? Is that thought true? Is that thought true? To formulate a concept or mental hologram you'd like to change, you have to begin here, you know, with these beloved teachers. I mean, how do you establish a pattern how do you establish a routine or a habit, an addiction, or a healthy, an acquired taste, an acquired routine that was more respectful? It is still true. Whatever image you hold of yourself and your goals, is it still true? Is it still true? Is that belief still true? Because if it's not, you know, maybe, you know, January 1st or December 21st is a good moment to just go, you know what? I'm done with that. Is it still true whatever image you hold of yourself and your goals? Take a bird's eye view. Look at the bigger picture. What do you want to do? Escape the wheel of samsara forever? Focus on this solar return or on that? Figure out what you're here, why you feel that your main reasons to stay here, and figure out how to escape or figure out how to help others. Figure out how to shut down the memory wipe if that's your purpose. Figure out what is your passion. If you're if you're an antinatalist, well, find something else that spurs your passion. Like for me, I'm actually passionate about helping people awaken. I'm sick of them being, I'm sick of people who are halfway awake. I'm ready to serve them as much as they're willing to serve themselves. I give them hints and tips. Figure out how to take care of yourself and more peace. Increase your sovereignty, clarify your discernment, destroy your false beliefs. This is how many videos have I focused on that? Yeah, just doing something like even just making silly talks. If you feel that it's some kind of service, like serving a few others, then of course it helps me. To the point when you realize that I've had so many recurring experiences of what's called the numinous that you don't necessarily identify with that fucking little ego caught in survival mode. You transcend the false ID. You don't remain stuck in it when you go through the healing, the cleansing, psychological cleansing. You clean up your thoughts, emotions, and diet, all of them, all three. The normal goals and the exceptional. Start after questioning by reframing your essence as a being that cannot be contained by hell. If you really feel yourself as someone that hell cannot control in a respectful way, maybe you're halfway there psychologically. See your real spiritual self going beyond the bullshit the archons tell you. Remember my words the next time. Remember the words you've heard me say, some of you disciples, on hundreds of videos, the next time that they try to stream in all the derogatory filth and make you act upset and amplify your horror. Just remember it's fake. Remember the fake nature of the heart palpitations and all the ways they attack you, and don't identify. Take deep breaths. Don't identify with the filthy thoughts. Remember, never forget. It's your memory of my teachings which are not from me, but I'm just sharing the wisdom I've learned that could actually, rescue you in that moment, at least momentarily, or keep you to some degree from harm's way, because you don't embody the archonic filth when they try to make you embody them. See your real spiritual self going beyond the bullshit the archons tell you. Visualize what your freed state would be like. What would it be like? Now, what steps do you have to take to get there? What's it going to take? What's it going to take for you to really free your mind? Yes, you have to be very aware of what you don't want. I was trying to think this guy's name and I couldn't remember, but I'll think of it later. But he wrote a list. He wrote a best-selling book from the library. So it proves that it can be done. Well, he's a sun sign Capricorn, and he said first is what you don't want. Know what you don't want. Hell's expertise in mental hijacks, the direction of that addiction black hole you don't want to fall back into, that trauma bond to hell that you must reject. You must reject. Notice how boredom and meaninglessness, depression, and anhedonia grow rapidly in the obedient mind of a person who just goes along to get along, as far as just survival mode as a loose slave puppet or disabled puppet or whatever you want to call it, prisoner, golden country club prisoner, either way. And hell's low humans Goyim farm and knows better. You see, this is the thing. If you still think you're only in hell, but you know better, but just don't have the energy, it's understandable. I mean, we've been there. You don't have the energy or the vision to quit. I mean, it's so hard to find another rental or another situation or another camp or whatever. You don't want to give up on your dad or your mom, your friend, your brother, your child, or whoever it is that's psychologically abusing you. You've been trauma bonded to them for years. You're used to it. This is just a common thing. I mean, either that or there was even worse abuse as a child, and now you don't trust anyone and you don't want to get near anyone because you feel that humans are all manipulative or abusive, even if they didn't mean to be. Um, you know, Unbeknownst, they inadvertently harm you psychologically in most cases. I've been there. And you just feel like you don't have the energy or vision to quit or transcend or escape the perceptual cage. Been there. But you can do it if you really take care of the inner self, the real, your essence, your physical flesh suit as well. There are often many layers of meaning and nicing, even on the farm, if we have eyes to see, and a mind that can still learn. How does a person get healthy again after years in jail? They were deprived of healthy human contact, nutritionally starved, eating the jail food, poisoned, drugged, sterilized. They couldn't even have sunlight in some cases, access often, and rendered very fearful, atomized, or how could they not feel solipsized, or humans in a galvanized mind cage, now free to re-enter the farm, but are they going to want to be like that one old man in the Shawshank Redemption who, he hung himself because he'd been in jail so long, he was used to people taking care of him, he didn't want to work, to to becoming a freed wage slave, yet back to being that. Yay! A freed body, but having to, not really, because you have to just slave it away every day. So, looking back at what you did last year and what you'd like to do this year, in 2026, do you see how you've repatterned your mental hologram for more liberation each year? I mean, looking back 5 years, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, do you see how you've made progress in liberating your essence from this, uh, the wheel of samsara? See how you've repatterned your mental hologram for liberation? For me, having traveled to 3 cities I've never visited before sure helped me to break some of my false perceptual limits or connect more to the original Sagittarius archetype or the larger self, if you will, or the bigger picture. I went over to my new friend's house for Christmas, and that was cool. And her Sagittarius rising really made me feel at home there, and of course, in conversation with her, she's one of the few that can keep up and really make video quality conversations with me. But home is really where the heart is, and so if you can pull the concept off the Roman tick, the Roman tick, sexual vampirism notion that it only comes from her a sexual truth or a philosophical half truth, that then, like a spiritual turtle, like if you remove this idea that home is where your sexual partner is, then like a spiritual turtle you can be at home any and everywhere. Even lastly, as an essence way out in the deep void of the mother. In other words, if you stay in your heart, if you stay in your essence, you will become at home wherever you go, in whatever circumstance. And then when you leave, you'll be ready, right? So this is a goal, the ultimate goal, I think, for us to learn. How do you feel at home everywhere? Way out, so that when you're way out in the void, you'll be cozy even there. Speaking of mother, I've been enjoying this woman's podcast where that the YouTube algorithm put on my feed. It's really new. She's only done 10 episodes, but they're all. She looks like she could be Jewish even, or some kind of Middle Eastern, curly black hair. And she's interviewing Michael Tsarion, where mostly she discusses it with him a little bit, but it's mostly him discussing the female. It's called the dark side of the female psyche. In depth with Michael Tsarion, and learn as much as you can about the false self, father gods, the the false self, the devouring, and as well as what he's researched here, the devouring or destructive mother archetypes. The tracing from the what we see going now, culturally, to tracing it back. He was bringing up Attila the Hun, and how and Joan of Arc, and how in the ancient days there wasn't this idea that a woman was weak and all of that. That was, well, I would say it was obviously imported by these Anunnaki, they are reptilians and Anu gods, to bring their ideas of patriarchy, and that women were only for breeding. They brung the and in fact, trying to think, this woman that works with the Indigo Angel, this Italian woman, she researched, and then let's see, oh yeah, Ola Woni also researched about how the first shamans were all women, and they became eventually, and when the patriarchal came, they became into men, but they were originally women. So learn as much as you can about the false self, father gods, the false self, the devouring or destructive mother archetypes as well. Go deep and attempt to surgically remove the shackles of their mind control chains in your brain and heart. And yet, as this has even been somewhat accomplished, Never forget to regrow, reframe, and resolve your mind to remember reverence for the real divine mother and divine masculine father within you, the anthropos within you, that part that can fight or kill but refuses, that part that could manipulate but won't, that part that has respect because it gave you free will, so you honor it by honoring others' free will. And being as harmless as possible, you choose to live in reverence and respect for the original gift of this hologram of free will. And you acknowledge that the fake gods are torturing us, but I also acknowledge their skills. I don't worship, I don't give them reverence. I talk some shit. I talk a lot of shit about the devil, but I admit that they've achieved their goals very, very skillfully. However, revere the anthropos. Know the real divine masculine is mostly non-violent, non-extractive, gives and takes no bullshit. The exact opposite of the usurper gods. Respect the anthropos, because it didn't create, it was only, according to the story, that, Christ Sophia broke apart on her own to create Yaldabaoth. According to Wes Penra, it was loosh or 4 getting some of that DNA from her. Who knows? Who knows for real what really happened? But the original mother, father, God, we have to honor and respect the power of the real creator, the real, whatever you want to call it, man, woman, or couple. The original mother, father, God, the real one, not the fake. Refute and refuse the false selves. Archontic little me, ego stuck in survival in hell, commiseration. It is a dead entity, a zombie, as an ego in 3D mostly. I mean, if you're not totally enlightened master and you're in a flesh suit, how are you not, to some level, a zombie? Okay? That's the state of the unexamined human in 2025. Instead of the forced death dissolving your essence in winter solstice, geoengineered attrition, see yourself beyond the pleroma. What am I doing beyond the pleroma? What are we doing out there? What can we be capable of learning? What kind of adventures can we be capable of having out beyond the pleroma? Above the scaffolding of mental hell and its chakra governors. Where will you go? What will you do when you live in the truth? What will I do when I practice what I preach consistently? What will I be able to manifest then? Live in the truth that, aside from consuming stolen eggs or, milk from another animal, if you are really harmless, you want to do your best to feed your body what it needs nutritionally, but if you're really harmless, you can become far more really free. Then, in this reframed hologram, you make the rules. You choose what goes into that flesh suit. You make the rules if you're not going to harm anyone else or their property and their stuff and psychologically destroy them. What guidelines will you choose? Rejecting the filth of the inverted mother and father archetypes, attempting to have forgiveness towards Christ Sophia, yeah, knowing she had for forgiving her for the massively huge mistake of having the extreme hubris to create the demiurge and then thus inadvertently the entire matrix is a tall order. But isn't it a necessity to not be screaming angry, acting like a screaming angry 3-year-old who has to permanently ban you from their channel for making comments because you're so traumatized psychologically with complex post-traumatic stress that you can't allow a good truth in. This is how bad it can get. But on the other hand, you could want to maybe ban me from the comments, like, because you didn't like what I said. You thought what I said was way too dark and exposed too much evil. Like Jeffrey Mishlove. Bless his heart. Can't you see where you've inherited some of her hubris and resolve to work toward the goal of escaping or shutting down hell on earth? Like, the same thing that makes you say, that you want to burn her and the pussy worm and your parents and all this and so forth. That same energy, if you heal that, can be used to resolve to work together with others to shut her down, to shut down the memory wipe system for all beings. Can we work to the collective goal of escaping or shutting down hell on earth for all beings? Your real altruism can lead to true freedom, no? Remember, the Buddha Gautam was so correct in saying that we are lotus flowers in the mud. Especially in this next year, and the scaffolding of hell has grown tremendously, rapidly fast. The self-replicating nanotech, the multidimensional, the Helite digital AI panopticon of Agenda 2030 self-replicating graphene dioxide and nanotech colonies in the air and inside the needle tech and inside everything, growing rapidly to form the space fence, to form this three-dimensional hell, panopticon hell. But yet we're allowed to speak the truth. We're allowed to speak the truth about that. We're allowed to grow in awareness. So we're lotus flowers in the mud of that filth. Reframe your mind if you want to be aware of the mental hell cage, and be thankful toward the amazing adventures and experiences, dances, growth, sexual bliss, learning possible in these flesh suits. The reclamation of oneness through your animal form, the shamanic initiations, the initiations into humanity that some of us are going through now, the amazing reclamation of your psychic gifts. Even in gnosis of the horrific afterlife memory wipes, this insanely evil and filthy, disgusting, bad thing called the veil of forgetfulness that we experience every morning if we don't, do dream journals and learn that skill. Knowing we really are all a part of the true original creator. Stop obeying the archons in your head who insist on endless war, violence, pestilence, and bullshit. This New Year's, Salute Yins. That's my solution. Did you notice the English language has shun, tion, shun, shun, everything, shun everything. No, it's salute yins and salute yangs that are healthy and benevolent. And growth as the lotus in the mud of the hell reminds me as hell's real, be the lotus in the mud of hell realms. Shite around us in this new cycle. Salute Yin. Remember the prime initiative. Christ Sophia has no animus, Keith. Okay? She is purely yin. She will not break the cosmic, real, natural, original law of non-interference. And if you don't believe in her, what do you think she's going to help you when you don't believe in her? I mean, the thing is that faith is a part of it, probably. But, I mean, when she rescued me from the two semi-trucks going either way on the road, it's pretty amazing. I mean, she acts, but she cannot act. I mean, unless it was an emergency like that, she is not able to act without interfering with your free will as a pure. This is where she had a flaw. I mean, she made Yaldabaoth, right? Well, think about how when somebody does something, or they witness, or they had a really horrible crime happen to them, how they kind of clam up. You know what I mean? Like the personality type called schizoid, 21st century schizoid man. Well, the schizoid man, a lot of times, the narcissist, the borderline, that's usually something horrible happens that shocks them into the state. But the schizoid kind of like doesn't. And this could have been what happened to our divine mother after creating Yaldabaoth in the Matrix and knowing how much it harmed us. She's fucking wounded and kind of like she feels like she can't act, but she still is within us. It's so that the only way that there's going to be a second coming or peace on earth, there's the only way that we're going to end this endless war and this filth and this archonic control is when the aggregate, the majority, or at least 20% or whatever, remember her within and act on peace, act on respect, discernment, decide not to fight, decide not to be an idiot, decide not to feed the archon filth. It's a decision. It's hard. It's a skill. It's a discipline. But she will never get in your way. She is purely yin, a mother who is, as the USA founding fathers believed, is my guess, is that my feeling is that it's hands off. She's not going to ever do the shit that Yaldabaoth or Yahweh has done, ever. She would never interfere. She honors free will and will not interfere. She gives birth and life and cannot act to steer as it dishonors our self-efficacy. Exactly the same as our father, the Christos Aeon couple, the Anthropos couple that created the real original human form. The false self-gods, Yaldabaoth, and the archons hijack, usurp, steal, and siphon life. And yes, Josh and Keith, if you look really close, you can see evidence of what I'm saying if you really do the research, in my opinion. While you get free, I mean, it's going to take some healing the trauma, definitely. While you get free and smash their fake authority within, give the real creators a toast. Salute Yins is the solution. Salute good yangs. Salute the respectful divine masculine. And then blow the hell realm a kiss goodbye.